Hey guys, welcome. In this video today, I'm going to be making a traditional Southern style cornbread. This is a super simple recipe. It comes together very quickly. It can be made any night of the week and kids love it. So let's get started.
All right, so this is a pretty basic recipe. I have gotten a couple things out already. I have my scale here because I like to weigh ingredients for things like this, and I already got my lard out. Lard is the fat you're going to want to use for a traditional Southern style cornbread. You could substitute other fats, like any kind of cooking oil, really, but to make it traditional, you're going to need lard. I got the lard out. The reason I got the lard out ahead of time is so that I could melt some on the stove. This is 70 grams of lard. I will put in the description below the amount so you can measure these with a measuring cup if you don't have a scale, but if you do have a scale, I recommend using it. So I've melted my lard and I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees. I'm using convection. You don't have to, but it'll cook a little faster that way. All right, so let's get the rest of the things that I need together here. I'm going to need some all-purpose flour. I need cornmeal. I will need baking powder. I will need some sugar. And then I also need, let's see, some milk and 1 egg. Stay. And salt. Other than that, I just need a couple of measuring spoons and a bowl to mix everything up. All right, so I'm going to be using my scale for this. I like to use my scale for any sort of baked goods just so that they come out with consistency. You know, I want them to be the same every time that I make them. So I'm going to start with 120 grams of all-purpose flour. That's pretty much 1 cup if you don't have a scale. All right. Don't be like me and go over, because then you're going to have to scoop. All right, now after that, I'm going to go ahead and tare my scale again and go for 120 grams of cornmeal. A 1-to-1 flour to cornmeal ratio here. More cornmeal is going to give you a more corn flavor, obviously, but the flour holds the moisture a little better and keeps it moist and makes it light, so I found a 1-to-1 ratio is pretty good. So we're at our 120 grams here, or close enough. And then I'm going to add my sugar. We need 100 grams of sugar. You could add more if you like a really sweet cornbread. You could add less if you don't like a sweet cornbread. And there we go. Perfect. Okay. Other than that, I'm just going to need 3½ teaspoons of baking powder. That's what's going to give us our rise, since we're using all-purpose flour. 3½. A tip for your baking powder, especially if you don't go through it super quick, write the date that you open it on the lid, because after a few months, it doesn't work as good anymore. And the only other dry ingredient is going to be the salt. I'm using about a teaspoon of table salt here. All right, I'm just going to get a whisk and mix these things together. Here we go. You can see that these combined up pretty well, and now it's time to add the wet ingredients, which are going to be, again, the lard, which I've melted, 1 egg, and the milk. Let me get a cup so I can measure the milk. We're going for about 1 cup of milk here, which weighs 240 grams. This is whole milk. I highly recommend whole milk for baked goods. It has a little fat in it. If you're going to use skim milk, you might want to add just a little bit extra lard. All right, creeping up on 240 there, perfect. I will go ahead and dump that first into my dry ingredients. And actually, I don't want to use this whisk to mix in the wet ingredients because I don't want to overmix. I will use this spatula, which I have used in the lard bowl already. So I can go ahead and mix this a little bit and mix in my lard. The lard is going to solidify a little bit when I pour it in because the milk is a bit cooler than it. But don't let that bother you. It'll be okay. All right. And then the only other thing I have left is my egg. I'm just going to crack it right into the lard bowl. Make sure I don't get any shells, and then dump it in with my other ingredients. All right, now let's mix her up. Now, like any baked good, you really don't want to over mix it. There's going to be lumps in this, and that is okay. That is what you want, really. If you over mix things that have flour in them, what you do is you start to develop the gluten in that flour, and it's almost like you start making a bread almost. And I know this is called cornbread. It's a quick bread though. It's not like a risen bread, so it is different. But if you're making cornbread, biscuits, cake, anything like that, do not overmix. It'll be lumpy, and that is just fine. This is all I'm going for. It's pretty lumpy, and that's the way it's supposed to be. All right, all that's left is add this into my pan and get it in the oven. So I'm using a cast iron pan that is traditional. This is a 10-inch Lodge pan. Don't use an aluminum pan, use cast iron. If you don't have that, you could use like a baking, like a cake pan or something like that. Cast iron is going to be best. And then you need to grease this cast iron. Use more lard for that and be generous. I'm just going to use a paper towel here. I'm going to get a little lard on it. Well, I say a little, it's probably almost a tablespoon, and I might need more. And I'm going to go pretty heavily with this. Thing about using the lard for this, you see how it sticks to the sides. It sticks to the sides a lot better than like a liquid oil would, and that helps keep those sides greased. And also it's going to soak into the sides of the cornbread as it cooks, as well as the bottom, and it's just really going to help with that crispy outer edge. So like I said, we want to be pretty liberal with this. Don't be afraid, all right? We don't want it to stick, and we want it to be crispy. So now that we've got that taken care of, we can go ahead and add our batter. One last little stir here. And into the pan we go. Oh yeah. Get all that with your rubber spatula. And that's it, guys. I'm going to pop this into the oven. It's going to take probably 18 to 20 minutes. We'll give it the poke test, and we'll go from there. All right. All right. See you in 20. Okay, guys, our 18 minutes are almost up. It's time to check our cornbread. And if you bake much, you know what this is for. This is my toothpick. It is to test to see if the cornbread is done. It is one of the ways we are going to test this cornbread. All right, let's pull her out. All right, first test, visual. Looks pretty good. Second test is gonna be my poke test with my toothpick. Toothpick comes out clean. Might be one or two tiny crumbs on it. This is gonna be done. The only other thing that I like to do to test, let's turn this off, see if we can hear the cornbread. If you can hear the cornbread, it is definitely ready to come out. I don't know if you can hear that or not. It's got a little sizzle going on it. Sometimes you get a little whistle sound. All right, guys, this is all done. Let's let it rest in this pan for 5 minutes, and then we will see what we got.
Okay, guys, it's been 5 minutes, and then it is time to test our cornbread. It has been resting for us, and it should come out of this pan really nice since we used plenty of lard. I'm just going to go around the edge with a butter knife. Oh, I barely need to. I'm just going to flop this right out, right onto the board. Look at that. All right. Let's try it out. Very soft, guys. Got a little bit of crunch around the rim. You can hear that. Ooh, God, it's hot, guys. Try it out. Ooh. It's very good. It's moist. It's got just enough corn flavor. Excuse me, man. This is great. It's nice and moist. It's got plenty of corn flavor. Fluffy, not too crumbly, just crumbly enough. It's going to go great with some butter or some honey, or maybe both. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you found value in this video, please consider liking and please consider subscribing to my channel for more content just like this. Thank you. Have a great day.